Welcome to another episode of the Wandering Watercolor. Today we're working on another page from the Everyday People Watercolor Coloring Book. It's one of the watercoloring books that I make myself by hand. So if you are here because you bought it from me, thank you, I really appreciate that. And if you just want to paint along with us, you can pause and draw the image and then just start painting. And with that, we'll go over to the drawing table. So this is the image that we are working on today. It is basically just a yogi, some kind of a yogi walking somewhere. So I really liked the reason I chose this image is because I really liked the colors in it. So we can work on that. And basically for the palette, I am using the same palette that I sell myself. Again, I make the paints myself, and I usually include this little brush with it. If you purchased it from me, this brush probably came in your kit, but going forward I'll discontinue that because this brush, even though it's nice and small and you can fold it and put it in here, it's becoming very, very difficult to find. So but the colors I'll still continue making. But if you have your own colors, they will work just as fine. Won't be an issue. And also have a rag with you just in case. They come in very handy. Just a little rag, and also a scrap piece of paper. It can be any paper. It does not have to be watercolor paper. And a porcelain dish or plate, something to mix your colors on, and a cup of water on the side. Let's get started. So we'll go ahead and there's a lot of red in this one, as you can tell. I'm going to start by mixing the robe and then the scarf and head, and then there's only like 3 or 4 colors, so it shouldn't be too difficult. But basically we're gonna mix a lot of this red, and I mean a lot, but we also want to make it very diluted. We want it to be more water so that the pigment isn't too strong, because we want to be able to achieve light and dark tones to show the folds and shadows and so on and so forth. So that's probably good as far as a little more water. As far as the base wash, the base flat wash that we're doing for the clothing. So we'll start right here. Color all of that. It looks like he's reaching in his bag for his phone. And color all of this. Just a nice flat wash. And all of this down here. And get some more color. Just like that. This first part is fairly simple. Okay. And if you go outside of the line, as always, that's not a big deal. I'm gonna rinse off my brush, dry it off. Here I'm gonna actually pick up a little bit. Kind of add a little bit of a gradation just because it makes it look more interesting. Dry off my brush. And also a little bit right here. Rinse it off, dry it off. There we go. I am going to grab a little bit of this and just do some splatters. And get a little bit of water. Like that. There we go. That's fine. Dry off my brush. Next, we will focus on the tan colored bag. We'll grab a little bit of brown, a little bit of black, a little more black. That's too much black. And get a little more brown. It's actually very close to the exact color that we need. So we'll use that. We'll just go ahead and add a little more water so we can make it more transparent. A little more water. Okay. We'll go ahead and we'll put that in. There we go. And just cover every inch of the bag. Pretty straightforward. The first few steps are always very straightforward, fairly easy to follow. Here we go. I'm gonna rinse off my brush, dry it off, and I'm actually gonna go ahead and maybe pick up some of that color. Just to do a little bit of variation again. There we go. I'll rinse it off. Off to the next part, which is the scarf and the headband. For those, we will need yellow and a little bit of the bright red, just a little bit, a little more. Let's see. That's a pretty good orange there. So we'll go ahead and we'll just might need a little more water, just so it's not the first wash. You always want to make it light so that when you're putting on the darker tones afterwards, there's a good contrast between light and dark. So I'm comfortable with this color, and we'll go ahead and we'll lay that in. Okay, just like that. And headband. Okay. Rinse off our brush. So we got a lot colored in so far. A lot more to go. We'll go ahead and we'll get his sandals. Actually, let's do his base skin tone first. And we're just gonna get a little bit of the brown, and actually we're gonna mix it in here with this color. And then we're just gonna lay it right in. Yeah, that's a pretty good base tone for his skin. Okay. You can go right over the glasses that he's wearing, since when I'm going to dry this off actually a little bit. It's too much color on there. When we go in to draw or paint the glasses, we'll be using a very dark color, so it'll go right over. So that's good so far. And remember, all of these dry lighter. They'll dry at a much lighter color. Okay. So next, we need to start mixing the shadows for the red garment that he's wearing. Grab a little bit of, actually we'll need a bunch of burgundy. And grab a bunch of the brown, a little more burgundy. A little more. Okay. And we are going to be layering in several shadow layers. So we'll go ahead and we'll start with, we'll do a little bit of brown, a little more brown. There we go. Okay, the first layer, we're just gonna go in. Back like that. Like that. All of this, and then down here for the folds. Like that. Like, wet my brush, and then without drying it off while it's still wet, I'm gonna go like this, soften up some of the edges, and add like a little bit right here, a little bit right here, like that. And that looks pretty good so far. I'm gonna dry off my brush and then soften up some of the edge, rinse it off, dry it off, and soften up the edge like that. And then down here at the bottom, all on the bottom. So we're good on that. Grab a little more right in here. This little area, we're gonna put it all in dark. And grab a little more, and then back here, I'm going like that. Sorry, I'm trying to make sure I'm not blocking the camera. Going right there, like that. And also the front, right in front of the bag. And I'm gonna rinse off my brush, dry it off, and then just go in right there. And dry it off. Just like that. And do the same for the edges right there. Okay, rinse off my brush. Pretty good. Some good shadows there. We just need to wait for them to dry off so that we can go in and add another layer and then another layer. We want to do at least 3 layers. While that's drying though, we can go ahead and move back to the bag that he's carrying. Get some brown, get some black, mix them up, get a little bit of the dark blue, a little more. And a little bit of water, and a little, actually, that looks pretty good. We get a little bit down here where there's more water, less pigment. And we'll go ahead and we'll outline the back here. And then down here, the bottom, the light is coming in like that. So get the bottom here, the cell phone that's in there. Grab all that. Show the bulk of the bag, and then just a little stroke for the folds. Here a little more, and just like that. You can see kind of how the shape of the image is coming together. Rinse off the brush and then soften up maybe some of the edges right there, down here. Okay, that's good so far. Rinse off our brush. Next we can focus on the shadows in the scarf. We just need to mix a more vibrant orange. So we get a bunch of the burgundy, we get a bunch of the yellow, or the darker yellow I should say. So that looks like a pretty good darker orange. We can go ahead and just lay some in. Starting off right there. Going up like that. Okay, like that. Here, just making some shadows for the folds. And now I'm going to rinse off my brush, and while it's still kind of wet, I'm going to go in, kind of dilute some of the shadows, soften them up, and also maybe add some shadows right here from the pigment that I picked up by diluting these shadows. Okay, so that's looking pretty good so far. I'm gonna leave that as it is. Rinse my brush. While that's drying, I can actually go ahead and fill in the sandals. All they are is the black. So we're just gonna get some black. Kind of maybe work it in a little bit. So it's some of the water from the brush is just coming right off. And then you can see that it's not as concentrated as it is in the cup. It's because the water from the brush actually dilutes it somewhat. And we'll go in, we'll just fill it right in. Like that. There we go. And then for the other one, and we get both of them done. Okay, now I'm gonna rinse my brush. Well, actually, I'm just gonna dip it in the water. I'm gonna grab a little bit of this, and what I'm gonna do is do a little, just a stroke going upwards like this, just to show some texture of the paper. Pressing it against the paper, that helps bring out the texture. And then also kind of going like this. The reason I'm doing that is because well, for two reasons. One is that it helps kind of block in the shape of the person, but also it helps add some texture as if there's something in the background, almost like it's a building, or like he's walking in the city or away from the city. So just like that. Rinse our brush. And then, okay, so next we will work more on the shadows for the robe. And I'm gonna dry off my brush a little bit. And I'm gonna add a little more brown to this. A little more brown. There we go. Do another layer, And again, I'm just going to be very bold with it. Back here like that. Kind of some of the folds. Okay. And then I'm doing less here. I'm not spreading it all over like I did before. I'm just trying to emphasize the darker parts. Really try to emphasize the folds of the robe. And maybe do a little horizontal line. And there is, you can see a little bit of the other side of the robe, but it's all in shadow pretty much as it folds around his leg from the other side. Okay, and then this we will do the same. We'll kind of just cover it a lot in just this darker color, but this time we will leave a little bit of a space in there. And then up here we'll do the outline for the shadow underneath the scarf or whatever that is, and then back here, and then just a little more like that. You can still see the shadow underneath. We're leaving that shadow in. We're not completely covering it. We want it to be visible because it adds variability and layers to the shadows. And just a little vertical outline and maybe just a little line there, and that's pretty much it for that. I'll rinse off my brush again. And then go in and grab some more of the scarf, the orange here, and then just put it right there and put in some kind of like stripes going in this way to show the folds, and outline some more of the shadows here, a little bit like that, going back here like that, and rinse it off. And then for the bag, we're just going to go back to our mixture right here, and we're just going to go straight for where the pigment is, and then outline back here, and just do a little outline around the bag down here, outline the bottom of the bag, maybe do a little bit of variation in the width of the outline, a little stroke right there for the fold, a little outline for the fold of the phone right there, a couple of the folds up here, do a little outline for them, one right there and maybe one right there. Okay, let's see how that looks. I'm gonna do a little more right here where the hand meets the bag, just to kind of emphasize the folds. Rinse that off. So far so good. We've done a lot. It's coming together quite nicely. While these parts are drying off, then we can go ahead and mix in, we'll go ahead and we'll use some of the dark, we'll use a little bit of brown and a little more black to mix the shadow so that the guy's not just floating there, he has something that he's stepping on. And the way we'll do that is, I have a little drop of water here. Just pick it up, okay. We're just gonna connect the heel with the other foot, but we'll also go out a little bit and down a little bit. So if you want, just watch how I do it and then proceed afterwards. Press down for the texture to get the texture from the paper, and we're going up a little bit and back, since his shadow would be laying down that way, and then just a little bit to show that the foot is also casting. If the light is coming like this, there would be a shadow right there. And let's see. Yeah, that's pretty good. We can add some more emphasis on the shadow later on. And then we can go back to the robe. I'm going to add some more darker areas. But this time I'm going to pick up the brown. I'm also going to pick up a little bit of the green. And just a little bit, and see how much darker that got. The reason being is because green is complementary to red, so if you really want to darken either one of them, just use the opposite color, and it's kind of what you get. I'm gonna get a little more red here though. That became too brown in color, so I need to bring it back to look more red. Perfect, right there. That's looking like a really good dark shadow for outlines and really dark areas. So right there, I'm gonna give right there. I'm gonna outline the back here, going all the way down. The outline down here, the edge of the robe, and also the other side of the robe that's coming through. Just like that. Get a little more over here. Do an outline right there. Down here, like that, like that. Okay. Alright, so all of that looks good so far. We'll add a little more back here. And just a stroke or two for the folds. A little on top, underneath the scarf, and then a little bit right there, and right there. So that's looking pretty good. Okay, I'm going to rinse off my brush. Actually, I'm going to use that same color. I'm going to dry off my brush, and I'm going to use the exact same color to do some outlines where the orange is, because it's so close to that, especially for the darker areas. I'll go right there. Just a little bit where there's folds. There we go. Okay. I'm gonna rinse that off and dry off my brush. Next, I'll get directly where the black is. Then go ahead and do an outline underneath the sandal. I also outline the sandals themselves. Okay, so that looks good. And rinse off the brush and get some brown directly from the pan. Mix it in with that black, and then there's a button here which is really dark. I'll go ahead and put that in for the button. I'm actually going to do a little outline here for the bag going down, just so there's more definition. But first I'm gonna get some of the color off of the brush and then just go straight down. There we go. And that way I can add a little bit of outline for the folds, just some of the folds, not all of them. And back here like that. There we go. Okay, let's see. Okay, it's looking pretty good. Just a couple of more things. One of them is we need a little more shading in the skin tone. Let's see. This right here. This was a mixture of the black and the brown and a little bit of blue. And then we mixed the brown and black again. So this mixture right here would be a good mixture for the skin tone, for the shadows of the skin tone. So we can go ahead and just put that in like that. And just kind of putting it in where the shadow would fall for his skin. A little bit up here. That's really all we need there. I'm gonna rinse off my brush. We are almost done. We do want to get a little bit of just a small bit of the black, and then just kind of dilute it with a little bit of the water from the brush, and then just go in and then just add what looks like gray to show the shadow of the beard, and then just kind of layer it in, and on top as well. Let's see. Okay, I am going to use my rag just to kind of press in where there's a spot on the nose that's taking a while to dry. You can still see the shade there on the nose though. And then I'm just going to go straight for the black again. And I'm going to get actually a bunch of it, because when I get a bunch on the bristles of the brush, it'll help me sculpt them. So just kind of like rotate my brush. Okay, I have some, I can get a nice edge and then go right in for the glasses that he's wearing. So just very slowly, trying to make sure the camera can pick it up. There we go. So we've got the little glasses that he's wearing. Now we can use the blacks to mix it in with some of the red. Or mix it in with a bunch of the red, I guess. Rinse off my brush. And it's a very dark, this makes it into a very dark, like purpley brown red. And I'm gonna get a little more burgundy in there. Okay, there we go. And do a little outline. Outline right here. Underneath the bag. Right there. Where the folds are. A little more for the fold. Right there. And then like that. You can really see all the details just kind of popping out. Okay. And then definitely for the outline here, a little more. And rinse that off. Get a little bit of the brown, mix it in here. Get a little bit of black, mix that in. You can give a little bit of an outline. And back here as well. Let's see. Okay. Rinse off our brush. We are done. Looks good. Okay, so that was it for that one. I think we have 4 more left in the Everyday People series. So if you followed all the way through, I'm interested to see what yours looks like. Feel free to tag me or leave a comment, whatever you want to do. I'm always Wondering Watercolor on my social media, or at Wondering Watercolor, whatever works. Keep in mind, you don't have to use the same brush as I use, or even the same paints. You can even use oil or acrylic or ink. Any of that will work, since the paper quality is pretty good. And if you have any questions, let me know. Otherwise, I will see you next time.